And yesterday's economic figures, unemployment figures, gave us a real boost. And I want to thank the Treasurer, because the stimulus package he has put forward during COVID and the fact that we've been able to keep the economy open has meant we are in a stronger economic position in New South Wales than we envisaged. And we know when it's a strong New South Wales, it's a strong Australia. And the number of jobs we created yesterday was far exceeded our expectations. And we know that we need to keep on this journey to make sure we support our citizens moving through the next critical months. And again, I want to thank the Treasurer for his efforts. And for Minister Dominello, so far the number of businesses registered and the number of citizens that have used these vouchers have been overwhelmingly satisfied. Service New South Wales has been one of the true heroes of the COVID pandemic in New South Wales, supporting all of the other agencies, but also being the one-stop shop for our businesses and for our citizens. And now through Service New South Wales, and we have about 80% of the adult population using this app, you can now, each individual will have the ability to download 2 $25 Dine Out vouchers and 2 $25 Discover vouchers. A win-win for everybody, a win for businesses, a win for citizens, but also a boost to the economy, because the more dollars that go into the economy, the more economic activity it is, it allows us to grow into the future and to protect jobs, create jobs, because we know so many people were displaced and will be permanently displaced because of COVID. And this gives us a chance to really put that boost into the economy, get spending going and get economic activity going. I'll now ask the Treasurer to say a few words to Minister Dominello, and then we'll take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. It's great to be here at Sea Life to celebrate the statewide rollout of the Dine and Discover voucher. We want everyone right across our state to get out and about and enjoy the very best that New South Wales has to offer, and particularly support those businesses who have been doing it tough. We know that the tourism and hospitality sectors over the last 12 months have had many challenges, and we believe that this program, which we announced in the budget last year, will help provide extra stimulus, provide support for mums and dads, men and women right across the state to enjoy the very best that New South Wales has to offer. And as the Premier has said, I think if you look at the $29 billion in stimulus support from the New South Wales government, I think if you look at yesterday's numbers, it's having the desired effect. Incredibly pleasing numbers. The unemployment rate now down at 5.6%. Incredibly positive for the people of our state. And if you look at the jobs that were created last month nationally, almost half of them were created right here in New South Wales. The participation rate is up to levels that are higher than when the pandemic began. And right across the board, I think those numbers are incredibly pleasing. We know it's certainly going to be a very difficult time over the next 12 months, but to see that 94% of the jobs that have been lost throughout the pandemic have now been recovered through yesterday's figures is incredibly pleasing. And part of that approach has been, I think, the measured and proportionate, the balanced approach that the Premier has led here in New South Wales, balancing the health needs with the economic needs. And I think we are the gold standard globally when it comes to the support package provided for being able to open up the economy in a safe way. And to have the Minister for Customer Service here, who's been front and centre through Service New South Wales, through the QR codes, which you all had to do when you walked in here this morning, has given the confidence to those health teams that we've been able to lift restrictions as much as possible. So it's been a great week for our state. It's going to be a long journey over the course of the next 12 months, but I think the stimulus support that we provided couldn't just happen. The strong financial management since we've come to office in 2011 has provided strong foundations which has enabled us to invest where it matters. So ultimately today the message is clear. This is all about encouraging everyone to get out and about in New South Wales, enjoy the best that we have to offer and support those businesses who are doing it tough.
Well, thanks Treasurer, thanks Premier. We've seen in the last 12 months how technology has helped us get through the pandemic. Technology will also now help us get through the recovery, and technology will also future-proof the people of our great state. That's what these Dine and Discover vouchers do. It means that in the future, if there is a fire, a flood, a drought, we can use this platform to assist those in need. So far, the rollout has been very, very good. We've had the trials in Broken Hill, the Rocks, Sydney CBD, the Beaches and Bega Valley. And based on those trials, we're ready for the statewide rollout now. So far, over 50,000 people in New South Wales has given us feedback on the actual experience of using the app. And so far, the people of New South Wales have given us a thumbs up of 98%. Businesses have equally given us an experience indicator on the use of the QR code, and we've had about 700 businesses give us feedback, and again, that feedback's sitting at about 98%. What the pandemic has shown us is that you cannot defeat a pandemic with paper. You need to be fast, you need to be accurate, and digital is the way. And in New South Wales, we're standing up to the challenge of digital, and that's why we are rolling out the Dine and Discover vouchers through a digital medium so that we can again respond in an accurate way. Today, we are announcing about 67 council areas that will come on board, and I encourage you to look at the website because that will show you in the weeks ahead, and we should have the whole state covered in the next few weeks, the areas that will come on board in about 3 or 4 different batches. So again, as the Treasurer and the Premier said, I encourage you, if you haven't already downloaded the app, please download the app. If you're a business that hasn't come on board, please come on board. These will be very popular, and so far the stats are very, very good.
Can you just explain quickly, because you are servicing New South Wales, is it as simple as go up, show your app and you're in?
Yeah, it literally takes a matter of minutes to download the QR codes on your phone. Once you've got that on your phone, you literally go up to a participating business, you show them your QR code, they scan it, and that's it. And hopefully you're paying more than $25 because we want a co-contribution. And that's the beauty of the design of this. So far, the average spend is about $40, say. It's 39 something, but say $40. That means it's not a $500 million package. It's really closer to a $900 million package. And that's the beauty of the QR system. We can have a genuine partnership with community to help the economic recovery.
How does a person know that a particular business, restaurant or place like this actually is part of it?
That's a great question.
You know how a lot of people
Yep.
what they turn up and
Very good question. So if you go to the service app, there's the map on there. So there's a list of the businesses, but there's also a map view. And in the next few weeks, we'll be enhancing that map experience because we want it to be as seamless as possible. And like every digital experience, mobile phones get updated every year. We're going to turn around that map experience in the next few weeks to enhance it even further.
Are you aware of any businesses that are signing up?
Sorry, that kind of data that you're gathering, that way people know where people eat, where people drink, it's quite valuable. You're going to be interested in selling that off.
Definitely not. And what we've done is made sure that with every digital product, we consult the Privacy Commissioner because privacy by design is critical. Like the biggest difference between democracies and autocracies is privacy. We value that, we guard it, and we make sure it's part of the design process. I'll go to Lucy first. Sorry, Lucy.
Are you aware of any businesses that aren't signing up and taking it on because of any privacy concerns or otherwise?
Not to my knowledge, Lucy, because when you think about it, this is an end-to-end digital product. There's no paper involved in this, so it's easy to lose paper. It's easy to misplace paper. It's easy for other people to look at paper. With end-to-end digital, particularly with encryption, it is far more secure. So we really do encourage the businesses that have not signed up to sign up now because we do think that this will be a very heavily invested initiative.
Look, I hardly understand what Victor's doing half the time, right? So all I know is this voucher's great and it's going to encourage people to go and spend money right across the state. No, Chris, no plans.
Where are you planning on spending yours? Is there a business dinner or lunch or?
Oh, take the kids into town and come, Luna Park, see life right here. I mean, there's so many great things in Sydney. And I think what I'd really like to encourage people across the state to today is to come to the Sydney CBD. Because if I look at the next 12 months, one of the biggest challenges we face as the economy continues to open is bringing activity back to Sydney. And we work very closely with the Lord Mayor here to bring activity back. Sadly, last night, our Summer in the Domain concert was a little wet, but I was at the end of our ERC yesterday. I was looking out the back from Parliament House, and there were some brave people out there enjoying that concert. And we really want to make sure we get as many people back into the workplace, into the CBD, and drive activity. Because when we launched this down at the Rocks, there's many many businesses here who rely on tourism. We don't control when international borders are going to open again, but there are so many great things to do in Sydney, and we encourage people right across the state to come in, bring the family and enjoy places like Sea Life, because you can have a great time and help these businesses who have been doing it very tough over the last 12 months.
With families, is it fair that a father of 3 gets 4 vouchers, but a father of 6 only gets 4 vouchers as well? Bigger families get more?
Look, I mean, this is all about helping, and I'll be, bringing my 6 kids out here and using the vouchers. And you get active kids. We're not means testing any of these vouchers. This is for everyone, and it's all about making a contribution. And as Victor has said, this is a $500 million investment. But as we're seeing that average spend, this is investing, close to $1 billion into the New South Wales economy. So we want people to take these vouchers up, bring out your family, and enjoy the best that Sydney has to offer.
Businesses on the Northern Beaches say that they haven't seen any grant recovery money yet. Are you satisfied that it's been rolled out?
Well, what's been most important, and Service New South Wales are doing an amazing job, because we are putting so many areas of government through that platform, and we've launched the Dine and Discover voucher there early on in the year as part of the pilot, and it's been incredibly successful. We've been working with those businesses, and that extra support for them will be coming out very shortly. Vic might have more information in relation to the date, but I understand that program is on track and doing well. And one of the aspects that we focused on when it comes to our stimulus packages have been getting the money out the door as quickly as possible. We don't want, as Victor has said, businesses being caught up in too much paperwork, and we'd rather get it 98% right, but get that money out flowing as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what's happening. And with this program today, we announced it in the budget. There are significant challenges that come with rolling out a substantial program like this. I want to congratulate the Minister, because the pilots that have taken place provided information and support that's enabled the state rollout today. But do you want to talk a bit more about
just very quickly? In easy terms, sorry. Essentially, we will have a landing page at Service New South Wales on Monday that will give more information in relation to the Northern Beaches grants. But as the Treasurer said, that will be coming online at the end of next month. But Service has been working really hard over the last month or so to get this program right, this $500 million program right. And just to put it in context, to our knowledge, this has not been done anywhere around the world using QR codes to essentially distribute grants in this way. So we had to get it right, because if we get this right, then it will help us in relation to future challenges such as fires, floods, droughts.
Premier, just on job care, answered a couple of weeks. What feedback do you get from businesses in New South Wales about the end of that program, and are you concerned?
Well, look, it's mixed, and we're always concerned, but we know that it has to come to an end. It can't go on forever. And what we've been doing in New South Wales, and this is another example, trying to support our citizens and businesses as much as possible, so that all of us can get through that period as best as we can. So the $29 billion measures that the Treasurer has put in on behalf of the citizens of our state has really been geared up to firewall and support all those businesses and citizens who we know might go through difficulty once JobKeeper ends. But we're also confident that through the targeted measures we have, we're supporting those communities that we think will be hit the hardest during that time, and making sure that we do our bit. So we're more confident than we were before on how New South Wales will get through this period. And the economic figures yesterday just made me feel more confident than I have in the last 12 months about the way New South Wales can weather the next few months. And the Treasurer and the government, we're putting measures to support particular industries that we know will be especially hit. And these Dine and Discover vouchers, I really hope people from across the state will consider coming to the Sydney CBD. Our regions have been doing very well. People have been travelling throughout our state, and we encourage that. But we also encourage people to please come back to the CBD. It's safe. Businesses here have been doing it tough, and we hope that no matter where you live in the state, when you obtain your Dine and Discover vouchers, if you want to bring the family along, you can go to 2 different eateries and 2 different discovery places at a discounted rate, and every little bit helps. And I just want to thank everybody that's been involved in the process. And as Minister Dominello said, the success of this voucher system will allow us to use Service New South Wales as a direct payment measure in the future, because we're making this a one-stop shop for our citizens and for our businesses. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. It shows that governments, when we try hard, can reduce red tape and just get things to our businesses and our citizens as quickly as we can. And I feel really encouraged by what this means for the future. And you know, for every disaster we've had, for every challenge we've had, we've tried, to see the silver lining. And the silver lining through COVID has allowed us to do things better as a government, to be more efficient, to really see what people need and get help to them as soon as we can. And it's really been, from that perspective, an opportunity for us to do better.
Premier, what are the conversations, have you had any progress with the conversations with the Prime Minister and the federal government about getting more vaccines into those hospital hubs that the state government is running?
Well, today our health officials are meeting with federal health officials to discuss this very issue. I've said from the outset, if we are serious about vaccinating 6 million people in New South Wales by the end of October, we need all hands on deck, not some hands on deck. And that's why we're really, really keen to have those conversations. And I remember I felt very strongly about being allowed to vaccinate our quarantine and health workers first, and I really pushed for that and got that. So I'm hoping we'll have the same success today. It's really important for us to have all hands on deck. I've asked our health officials to come back to me on what our capacity looks like beyond the stage that we've been asked to do. So as you know, at the end of stage 1B, the state government was supposed to down tools and the federal government's rollout was the one to take over. But I think all of us should work towards that end to make sure, because at the moment supply is at a manageable rate, but there'll come to a point when the local vaccine is produced that we'll have lots of doses, and the challenge for us will be to get it out in a efficient and quick way. And I think all hands on deck is a much better way to go.
With the timing of the 1B, I know you're still opening the rural hubs. When are they actually due to close if you don't, your operating accepted?
I've got full confidence that that will be welcome, but it's just really important for us to have one program for the vaccine rollout and not several. So I'd like to see it coordinated in a way where the states and the Commonwealth have one program and we can let the public know. And for some people in the community, it is the best option for them to go to their GP because they might have underlying health issues or they might want to have a conversation about it. But for the vast majority of people who can just get the vaccine anywhere, just having those extra options takes pressure off the GP network and it takes pressure off other channels as well.
When are you expecting an answer on that offer though? Because we've been talking about this, each week you're saying we're willing to do it, and yet you still don't have an answer.
Yeah, and I think, and in fairness, it has been a situation where sometimes we only get 48 hours notice of when we're receiving doses, and so this week we've had a bit of a lag, so we've probably got more doses than what we put out the door because of that. So we're just saying, we know there's not a lot of certainty, but what we want to do is make sure we're all working together, because once supply comes off that production line from the manufacturing plant, we are going to get lots of doses, and we want to make sure all hands are on deck to get it out as quickly as possible. And we've also made a very strong effort in New South Wales acknowledging that some communities in rural and remote areas don't have GPs, some will have to travel longer distances to access the virus, and the AstraZeneca has less challenges with logistics because of the refrigeration, etc. So we're actually thinking about how we get it out to all of our population. Obviously, I'm as keen as we can to get those higher risk areas in and around Sydney vaccinated as soon as we can as well, in addition to those vulnerable communities. So the challenge is there and the opportunity is there, and I know that I'm very confident the federal government will come to the party and work together with us to make sure that we get the vaccine out as soon as we can.
Premier, there's a lot of rain about North Deluge. Any word on how those communities are going?
Yeah, I've been in touch with our Emergency Services Minister, and can I thank the SES? There have been literally hundreds of call-outs overnight, and there is a strong message out to say, normally we're telling people to travel around New South Wales, but this weekend is an exception. If you did have plans to travel on the roads, please reconsider. We just want everybody to stay around and close to their homes and to be safe and to follow any of those messages. So please know that this weekend is going to be quite severe in terms of weather conditions, and we don't want to see any lives lost because of that. Please follow the warnings, please stay home where you can, and don't go travelling around on the road. So use your vouchers from next week when the weather's better.
Premier, just on apps, Service New South Wales, fantastic. It's like a COVID safety app on your phone.
Well, I think it's fair to say that we didn't need to use a COVID Safe Act because it was really to determine or to constrain community transmission. So I'm just saying. Well, my message is that fortunately we didn't need to use it. But what I do know is the confidence people have in the Service New South Wales Act. And I've even started, actually, Minister Dominello, I tasked him, and I know he's taken up the challenge, to talk with his federal counterparts to make sure we share data, so that if we do have vaccine data, or people do want to show on their phone that they've received the vaccine, that we can have that verification through Service New South Wales. Now, I don't want to cut across what the federal government's doing, but if our app is already up and running and our citizens are using it. So Minister Dominello has already been tasked and is having those conversations, and if anybody can achieve that, it's him. So. I'm sorry? Well, actually, as the Treasurer was getting asked that question, I was asking myself, so I haven't thought about it yet, but I will obviously do that because it's supporting our businesses, and I'll get round to it. Potentially, why not?
You can't pass them on to other people, can you?
I know, it's per person. It's two per person.
Can't sell them.
Yeah. But to your question before, this is really kind of the adults' version of the active kids, right? So children get the sports voucher, they get all these other opportunities. So it's nice for adults to support businesses as well and get some of the cost of living pressures off. I know a lot of people have been doing it tough. A lot of people haven't been out for safety reasons, or just because they're watching their dollars at the moment because they're not sure if they're going to keep their job. So we know it's been a tough time for everybody, and it's a little bit of relief and a little bit of support goes a long way.
And what do you say to, particularly some older people? I know most people have got one who have an old Nokia 5110 device or something that doesn't have the Service New South Wales Act.
Oh, Minister Dominello's got a good answer for that. So, yeah.
Is there an option?
There's always options. So there's always non-digital options. So, for example, if you're living in an area that's pretty remote, you can always contact Service New South Wales 137788, and they can either email the vouchers to you, and if you don't have a computer, you can always go into one of the 110 service centres right across the state, and they'll print out the QR code vouchers for you.
Premier, there's some information released today about violence in schools. Apparently, statistics showing that violence has doubled in the past 12 months. Concerned by that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it is part of the broader conversation we're having about respect and how people treat each other, and the conversations we need to have. Of course, it's concerning. And look, there's also we know that those rates of incidents occur during difficult times as well. It's been a difficult time for families, and we have to watch that, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's violence amongst those things at school. We know that our society, our communities have been through a difficult time, and those social consequences can also be severe. So as a government, we're really concerned about that, and are on top of that by working with all of our teams to make sure our services are there to support families when they need them.
But when it comes to kids, is COVID an issue that mum and dad might be unemployed?
Oh, look, I don't think we can underestimate the stress that kids have been through this year. I mean, homeschooling disruption, being away from friends, just the talk about people dying and death and COVID. I mean, it's difficult enough for adults to get our head around what we've been through, let alone children. And I do think we need to consider that in the way that could manifest itself.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, yeah, but there'll be a shark going past. The sharks are circling around. Go on into closure.
Shovel loads of
Wants to go down or go?
Yeah, go on.
it's a shovel load.
Release the turtle with